Hey, g'day, Chrissy here at Footprint Tarot. I thought I would do a reading I've been trying to get to for a while now, and it's one of my historical mysteries. Harold Holt, the Australian Prime Minister, who went swimming off Cheviot Beach in Victoria on December 17, 1967, and was never seen again. One of the popular theories is that he swam out and hopped onto a Chinese submarine, and that he wasn't that old at the time. He was only something like 58, I think, and that he's just been living his life in China and stuff because he was a Chinese spy. What I'm going to do is something called, it's a planetary spread. It's an 8-card spread, and it explores different aspects of his life as it was then. So I'm just going to pat someone's bum to get her to... No? You want to stay? Okay, you can stay, sweetie. Just put your tail out of the way. Okay. And yeah, there you go. Now, so Harold Holt, when he disappeared, Harold Holt was the Australian Prime Minister. He was the Liberal Prime Minister, and the Labor Party was around, but it definitely didn't gain the strength. It did really gain strength and power until the 70s, I think. I mean, it had been in power before, but yeah. Anyway, as I said, Harold Holt wasn't that old. He was a strong swimmer. He swam most mornings when he could, apparently. He was well used to swimming in the sea, and it was just a complete mystery. So I'm going to do the planetary spread on him, and this is the spread here that I'm doing on him. This one here. And I'll also ask some yes/no questions as to what may or may not have gone down in his, with regard to his disappearance. But we'll do the spread first, and then we'll move on from there. So this is not going to be a whole series like Chappaquiddick. The reason I did Chappaquiddick in a series is just there was so much to look at. And of course the disappearance of a Prime Minister is a lot to look at as well. But, so we're going to Harold Holt, the disappearance of Harold Holt. Cheviot Beach. I've seen pictures of the beach. I'm picturing the beach in my mind. At least I think it's the right beach, but Victorian Beach, yeah. I know the weather was stormy that day. And so this first spread we're going to do, it's going to be looking at Harold Holt and basically state of mind and the state of his life at that time. So, what's on the bottom? The Two of Earth. He was balancing things, trying to maintain a fine balance of things, whether it was work and personal life or political life or whatever. He was really working to maintain a balance there. Now the first card in the spread represents self, which is Harold Holt himself. So what does the first card say about him? It's interesting. The 8 of water, the 8 of cups. It's really interesting because this person is on a beach and he's looking out towards a ship that he's waiting, I think, to pick him up, and got a trunk full of something. That's really interesting. Perhaps he was thinking of walking away at the end of his term and retiring from politics. Or perhaps the popular theory is he was thinking about hopping on that slow boat to China, or that slow sub to China. That's really, really interesting. That's just... Okay, card number 2 is the moon, which represents his home environment. So what was happening on his home environment? The 5 of Earth, the 5 of Pentacles. In his home environment, he was feeling a little bit out in the cold, a little bit frozen out. So maybe there was stresses at home. Pretty sure he was married. And yeah, so some domestic issues happening there. The 3 card is business skills and integrity. This is the 4 of Earth. Again, it's money again. The 4 of Earth, he was holding things close. Business things close, keeping things close to his chest, about his business, about his integrity. I think he was keeping secrets. Could have been about money too. I don't know what he did before he was Prime Minister, but you know, as with most people who are voted into office like that, they have to declare interest and conflicts of interest, and I'm pretty sure Prime Minister is like a president, and they have to put any personal businesses in trust or something like that. They're not allowed to be a part of them while they're serving their term. So he was keeping things close to himself about business matters or matters of integrity. Card 4 is Venus, so that was himself, the moon, Mercury, and Venus, of course, the card of love. So what was happening? The Queen of Pentacles may have been involved with a very resourceful woman, and she could have been a Capricorn, a Virgo, or Taurus. And yeah, so it's in the love section. So if it wasn't his wife, he could have been having an affair. Card 5 is Mars, and Mars, of course, in the name, hostility, opposition, and aggression. So what was happening in his life in those areas? 6 of Fire, 6 of Wands. He was holding his own and even winning against the opposition and the hostile people who were fighting against him. He was winning against them. So he was dealing with them really well. And yeah, so he was really victorious over his adversaries in those areas. Card number 6 is finance, acquisition, and wealth, and that's Jupiter. What was happening there? The High Priestess. Now, this is interesting because remember I said with the 4 of Pentacles, he was keeping some things close. He had some secrets with regard to his financial position or his acquisition of money. So that's very interesting. Maybe where he got some money. maybe he was being paid money from a foreign government. Don't know. That there was certainly some secrets around that. Saturn rules his intellect. The Five of Water, some loss around his intellect. I wonder if he had maybe not been well and it was affecting his, even though he'd been winning against the adversities, there's some loss indicated in the intellect field with the Five of Water, the Five of Cups. He may have been suffering from depression, and that could have been affecting his ability to think clearly, and and therefore his intellect as well. So, you know, it can be a very isolating position, being in charge of the head of state for a country, so, or a prime minister. I regard the prime minister as our head of state. The Queen is technically our head of state, but that's more of a honorary role, really. I consider the Prime Minister our real head of state. Now, the question of the outcome is, what happened? Did he drown? And I'm going to pull 3 cards, one for each question. Did Harold Holt drown? Did he commit suicide? Or did he defect to China? We'll look at defection to China first. 3 of Fire, 3 of Wands, plans coming into fruition. Wow. That could be a possibility, yes. He could have defected to China. He could have been planning that. I'll also have a look at the yes-no card here. Yeah, 3 of Wands is a yes card. So that's interesting. Plans coming to fruition. He made some plans. Did he commit suicide? The 4 of Water is the 4 of Cups. That he may have been suffering from apathy at the time. The 4 of Cups, it can indicate apathy, and it can indicate dissatisfaction. It could in some cases indicate depression, but it can also indicate a thought or an idea that's rejected. I don't think he committed suicide. Did he drown accidentally? Did Harold Holt drown accidentally? 6 of Water. This is nostalgia. Children. Looking back. Six of Cups is, well, it's a yes card, but I just, and the 4 of Cups is, a maybe card, but this is like, it, yes, he could have. And yes, he did. So and there's a possibility. It's been a long time, so I'm going to discount suicide. So I'm going to take that one out, and I'm going to ask those two questions again. Did Harold Holt drown accidentally? Or did Harold Holt defect to China? We'll look at the defection. Justice. Justice is that's a possibly card. He could have possibly defected to China. And the drown accidentally card. The King of Fire, the King of Wands. That's two yeses. And the King of Wands, a steady, reliable person who is stable and a good leader, who had, I think he'd worked for a long time to get where he was. I think that's what this one says. He wouldn't throw it away, which is why I think the Four of Wands is discounted. This is a possible, but I think it also says if he did plan on doing it, he would have been caught and brought to justice. The Australian Federal Police existed back then. ASIO existed back then. I cannot believe that the Prime Minister of Australia would have gone swimming off a beach without somebody watching him and noticing him swimming far out. I think he would have been caught and brought to justice if he had defected to China. So I'm going to discount that. I'm going to say that based on the cards, he drowned accidentally. It wasn't intentional. He drowned accidentally off a very, very volatile and rough coast, even though he'd been used to swimming there for years and years and years. And yes, his body was never found, but how many times have you heard about people being swept out to sea and going under and never coming up again, and their bodies never being found? And I just seem to feel like because he was the Prime Minister, people would have been watching and would have noticed and would have been, they would have done a search further out to see if he was swimming out. And you know what? The Australian waters were being patrolled back then, and I think they would have noticed the Chinese submarine. I think Harold Holt drowned accidentally when he went for that swim off the beach. Something happened. He could have got a stitch. He could have gotten caught in a rip, but it was accidental death. So that is my reading on what happened to Harold Holt. I was not even a year old when he disappeared. There's always a myth and a legend about what happened to him, but I think he did die that day, and I hope his spirit is at rest. Yeah, he had a few issues and a few secrets and all that, but I don't see him committing suicide, especially based on this. He was triumphant over aggression, and his enemies at the time, even though he felt a little bit out of the cold and he had some secrets, I think he was planning to walk away from politics after he finished his term, but I think what he was keeping close to his chest what he was keeping secret may have been an affair and some financial issues, and and maybe that he was getting a bit tired and depressed and it was affecting him, and so he had just decided that no, he didn't want to continue on as Prime Minister. He wanted to start fresh after his term. But I think he had someone to go to. So I don't think he killed himself. I don't think he defected. I think he did drown accidentally. That's my reading on the Harold Holt mystery. If you'd like me to read on more, and I have several more I plan to be doing. I've got a nice list back there. But if you want me to read on some mystery, please, you can email me at footprinttarot@gmail.com. Otherwise, have a great day. Please remember to click like and share, and I will see you at the next reading. Bye-bye.